As you might recall, the day after Ricky Crouch was arrested for the murder of his ex-girlfriend Amanda Thompson, Republican Buffalo mayoral candidate James Gardner was quick to call out his Democratic opponent Sean Ryan for his support as a New York State senator of the state's controversial bail reform laws.
And it would have been prevented but for the bail law that was championed by legislators in Albany, including Sean Ryan.
Gardner claimed bail reform allowed Crouch, who previously went to prison for murder, to be on the streets, even though he had been charged with breaking into Thompson's home with a gun and threatening her just 2 months before she was killed, and again for violating an order of protection she got against him. We tried to interview Ryan after Gardner's remarks on Friday, but were told he was unavailable. We caught up with him Monday at a groundbreaking ceremony.
Okay, well, you sent out a statement basically accusing him of trying to score cheap political points on the death of someone, and then you went into some deflection about what he did, and you never said anything about your unwavering support for these measures.
The situation that people are trying to politically exploit has nothing to do with bail reform.
How so?
You ask me a question, I'll give you an answer.
Okay, isn't it because of bail reform that this guy was out on the streets?
No.
Ryan notes that bail reforms first passed in 2019 that said judges had to impose the least restrictive means in order to reasonably assure someone would come back to court were amended in 2023 to give judges more discretion based on circumstances, even though the Data Collaborative for Justice at John Jay College of Criminal Justice concluded the amendments Ryan points to would suggest legislators did not alter the literal meaning of the law. When Crouch was charged with breaking into Thompson's home with a gun, a judge did set bail, which Crouch posted. But when he appeared for violating the order of protection and the district attorney's office moved for him to be held because he allegedly committed another crime against the same victim for which he had pending charges, the judge released him.
That is a judge's discretion. That is not because of any legislative action.
Acting Mayor Chris Scanlon, whom Ryan defeated in the Democratic primary, suggested Ryan might see things differently if he's elected mayor and would no longer be making state laws, but dealing with the consequences of them on the city he'd be running.
Do you think your thoughts might change if you should become mayor of Buffalo and in day to day you're dealing with the police and you're dealing with matters of crime and things like that?
I don't know. Well, talk to me after January if I prevail in the general election.
Crouch, meanwhile, who served 23 years behind bars for a murder in 1996, has now been indicted for murder in connection with Thompson's death, for which he faces up to another 25 to life if convicted. On your side in the studio, Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.